Hey guys, what's up? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my new adult romance recommendations part 2. This is a very highly requested video from me because my new adult romance recommendations video that I made last September is my most viewed video on my entire channel, and so I've been getting a lot of requests to make a part 2 because it has been over a year since I made the last one, and I have read a lot of new adult romance in the last year because it's one of my favorite genres. I will be linking in the description the link to my first video so that if you're watching this and you're confused like why isn't Colleen Hoover mentioned on this list or why isn't Christina Lauren on this list, then they were most likely mentioned in my first video, so you can watch that one before you watch this one. I have 13 romance recommendations. 10 of them are male and female romances and 3 of them are LGBT male romances. I just want to say that I am really picky when it comes to romance novels, and I am very quick to judge when things feel like cliche or over the top or not realistic, and so these books are like the best of the best that I think stand out to me in the new adult genre and are really good. I think like the best of the best, you know? And I also want to have a quick little disclaimer because I know I might get comments about this, and that is I don't know if all of these books are technically new adult romance. I mean, I know that they're all romance and they all read like new adult books and the characters feel really young in spirit, but I don't know if technically, because I know the new adult age range is about 18 to 24, and I don't think all of these books might fall into the new adult category, but I want to recommend them in this video anyways because they all read like new adult romances and the characters are young in spirit. Keep that in mind. Let's just get right to it. So the first book I wanted to recommend is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. It follows Lucy and Josh, and they're both working in the same office and they're both competing for the same promotion. From the title, you can probably assume that this is a hate to love relationship, and the tension that builds between Lucy and Josh is just so freaking cute. If you're just really in the mood for that uplifting, lighthearted romantic comedy, then I think this is perfect. It kind of does read like Rainbow Rowell's writing, but the characters are just more mature, I feel like, and more developed and more sexual than Rainbow Rowell's characters are. Really adore the relationship between Lucy and Josh, and if you're looking for a good like office romance, then this is like perfect. The next recommendation I have for you is The Gravity of Us by Brittainy C. Cherry. This book follows Lucy and Graham is like a best-selling author, and Lucy is this girl who owns a flower shop with her sister. It's honestly best going into this book without really knowing anything about it. I think one of the main plot points in this is kind of a spoiler because it doesn't really happen until close to 100 pages in it, but then that's what the main story is about. So I think it is best to just jump into this without really knowing what it's about, but just know that it's one of my favorite new adult romances that I've ever read. Love these two main characters so much, and you know, Graham is such a like negative, pessimistic person, and Lucy is such an optimistic, beautiful person, you know, and so I think the way they balance each other out is just so beautiful, and this book is just everything I want in new adult romance. It's fucking great. It's just so good. It'll give you all the fucking feels. I cried so much while I read this. It was amazing. It's so good. The next one I have is Atheists Who Kneel and Pray by Tarryn Fisher. This book follows a musician named David who's looking for his next muse. Like, he needs inspiration for his music, and so he meets this girl named Yara in a bar in Seattle, and Yara is a bartender currently in Seattle, but she's kind of lived like all over the world, and she's British. Fucking loved this book, and I thought like right away the title Atheists Who Kneel and Pray was very like controversial for a title, but also like very interesting. Like, it definitely drew me in right away, and when you realize like what the title actually means and how it's connected to the story, it's just so powerful and so beautiful. And Tarryn Fisher is an author that I just recently started reading like a lot of her books, and her writing style is so gorgeous and her characters feel so real. Like, you can just tell that she really like pours her entire heart and soul into her books. God damn, I loved this book. I loved it, and I will admit that Yara is a very flawed character, but I feel like that makes her even more realistic because she does suffer from some really serious commitment issues, but if I'm being honest with myself, I feel like I would really be the same way, so I can't judge her for that. Don't let the title put you off from reading this. At the end of the day, this is a new adult romance novel. It really doesn't have to do that much with religion, but it's such a great story. I love Yara and David so much. They're like the OTP. And next up is Egomaniac by Vi Keeland. This story follows Drew Jagger and Emery Rose. So Drew is a divorce attorney and Emery is a marriage counselor, and it's kind of like ironic because they work in the same office space. He's trying to help people after they get a divorce, and she is trying to save marriages. So it's like there's a plot twist with Drew's character about halfway through the book that kind of just changed everything about the way I felt about him in a good way. Like I was just so, because I was like, he's just kind of cocky and, you know, whatever for the first half of the book, and then I was like, oh my god, when you realize like what's actually going on in his life and what he's been through, and just, oh my god, like he's such an amazing person. And I just like fell so hard for him in the second half of the book, and oh my god, it's so good, and the romance is so perfect, and their chemistry is just, it's so good, it's so amazing. And so this is another one, kind of like The Hating Game, that I think they're both really good office romances. All right, next up is Full Tilt by Emma Scott. This story follows Casey and Jonah, and Casey is the guitarist in like this up and coming band. Jonah happens to be their limo driver. She gets super fucking wasted, like she kind of has like an alcohol problem, and she gets really fucking wasted at this one concert of hers, and bodyguard carries her out and like throws her into the back of Jonah's limo and is like, get her home, you know. But then Jonah is like, she's unstable and it's probably not safe to leave her alone right now, so he brings her back to his place, and he just like has her like laying on the couch, and he like treats her really sweetly. We learn through Jonah's perspective, like right in the beginning of the book, that Jonah is suffering from this heart condition that's most likely going to kill him within the next year. It's the beginning of this really fucking beautiful love story and romance that I just was not expecting at all. The way that a lot of people have been describing this is that it's like The Fault in Our Stars but a new adult version, and I would definitely agree with that, because, you know, there's like this looming death that you know is gonna come, and you're just kind of like waiting for it, like in The Fault in Our Stars, but it's like, oh my god, it's so beautiful and so powerful, and the ending just got so emotional for me, and really adored Casey and Jonah together, and I just, this book was so good. So the next one I have is From This Moment by Melanie Harlow. This story follows Hannah and Drew. Drew is her husband, but he recently just died of a heart attack when he was only 34 years old, and he was a doctor, and they have a daughter named Abby together, and she's only 5 years old. When Drew dies, he has an identical twin brother named Wes, who is also a doctor, and he was away in Africa like doing all these different studies for his doctor thing. Wes decides to finally come back after Drew has passed away, and this story is really fucking beautiful. It's a love story that starts to form between Wes and Hannah, you know, and it's really fucking devastating for her to even look at Wes, because he's Drew's identical twin brother, and it's really hard for her to be around him because it reminds her so much of her dead husband, not just for her but also for their 5-year-old daughter Abby, who she's still adjusting and getting used to the fact that her dad is dead, and then it's like, then she has this guy that she doesn't really see that often because he's been in Africa for like almost her entire life. Now he's around and like trying to help them out, and he looks exactly like her dad, and it's just like, oh my god, it's so sad and beautiful and heartbreaking, and this book is just so heavy, but like it's so fucking good, and like the romance between Wes and Hannah is just so pure and beautiful, and like I'm like a sucker for romances that involve two broken people bonding together over the death of someone that they both loved, you know. That just, it gets me right in the feels. That's like definitely the trope that I'm here for. Yeah, it's so fucking good. It's great. I love it. The next one is Misbehaved by Charleigh Rose, and this is a student-teacher romance that follows Remington Stringer and Pierce James. It takes place in Las Vegas. Really cool and really unique. A young girl that's in high school, and she has this stepbrother named Ryan who's very like controlling and just kind of like abusive towards her. Like he's her stepbrother, so they're not like blood related, but like just kind of treats her like in a like he's sexually abusive in some ways, and he's just very out of control, I guess. You know, he's involved with selling drugs, and he's just not the best influence, and so she gets the opportunity to go to this really nice school where Pierce is a teacher at, and so this romance just starts to form between Pierce and Remy because he's trying to keep her safe, you know, because he knows that she's from a bad neighborhood. She's like the only kid at the school that's like from the bad neighborhood, and so he's trying to like keep her safe as much as he possibly can, and while he's doing that, he just starts to grow fond of her, and it was such a good student-teacher romance. Mostly love student-teacher romances because of how forbidden they are in nature, so I really enjoyed it because of that aspect. This one was definitely an awesome one that you should check out. The next one is Mudvayne by Tarryn Fisher, and this is a story that follows this girl named Senna who wakes up in a cabin and she doesn't know where she is and why, and she got abducted, and she doesn't know like how she got there or why she's there. This book definitely has trigger warnings for like depression and pretty much anything you can think of that's like sad and depressing is a trigger warning for this book, because this is like one of the heaviest and saddest books that I've ever read. But it also has a really powerful romance story in this book, which is why I wanted to put it on this list. But I love the fact that Senna is a writer herself. Like, she's written books that have become movies, and she's just like a best-selling author, so it was really cool to read a book from the perspective of an author. Again, Tarryn Fisher's writing is just really fucking beautiful and devastating, and her characters feel so real. Very heavy. It's really heavy, but the romance is really beautiful in it too. The next one is Beautiful Mistake by Vi Keeland, and this story follows Kane West and Rachel Martin. And so Kane West is a professor and he teaches a music class, and Rachel is a bartender, but she's gonna be the TA for his music class for the next semester or whatever. So again, this is kind of a student-teacher romance type of feel book, except it's not completely, because she's not a student, she's a TA, so it's kind of different. Goddamn, like, their chemistry is so off the charts in this book. I was like shipping it so hard, and I love the way that music really connects these two characters. Vi Keeland's writing is just so great, whether it's like Egomaniac or this book. Her writing is just so fantastic, and I really love it. The only complaint that I have about this book that other people might not really care about is the way that religion is just kind of randomly thrown into this book in like the middle of the story. It just gets very religious out of nowhere, and so if you're a religious person, it might not even bother you at all, but I'm not, so it kind of just irked me a little bit because it was so unexpected and just kind of like thrown in your face all of a sudden, you know? So that's the only problem I had with this book, but other than that, the romance was really fucking cute, and that's what you want, right? In a new adult romance, you want cute romance, and you get that in this book. All right, and then the last three recommendations I have are all LGBT male romances. So the first one's gonna be Junkie by Cambria Hebert, and this story follows Drew and Trent. Drew drives cars, kind of like an indie NASCAR racer type thing, and Trent is the president of his frat house. Drew and Trent have been best friends for years, and they've both considered themselves to be straight, and then one night something just happens between them, and they just kind of question what is happening between them, and they start to just get closer, and this story is just so fucking cute. It's definitely a slow burn romance. Like, it takes a long time for anything to happen between them, but it's so good in that way because it feels more realistic that way. When they're both together, they're just so fucking cute, and I just really love this story. I loved everything about it. It's just so fucking good, and it has a sequel that's just as fucking good as this book. The next one is Heels Over Head by Elyse Springer, and this story follows Brandon and Jeremy, who are both divers training for the Olympics. So Jeremy has been training for the Olympics like his entire life, and it means everything to him to get a medal in the Olympics, so he trains nonstop all day, every day. And then Brandon comes along, and Brandon just kind of thinks diving is a hobby, and he doesn't really care about it as much as Jeremy does. And Brandon is openly gay and very flirtatious with Jeremy, and it kind of just like completely takes Jeremy off guard, you know, because he's been working one-on-one with his coach for like his entire life, and now his coach just randomly takes on this other guy, and he's like, what the heck, you know? And he doesn't, like, he's really rude to Brandon in the beginning, because not only is he fighting off his attraction that he thinks is so forbidden and wrong, you know, because he's very like, he's been raised in a really homophobic family, so it's kind of shaped his mind to make it think like it's not okay to like guys, so he's always like angry and pissed at Brandon because of his attraction to him. This book ends up being a really surprisingly emotional story. Like, it was really sad to see Jeremy try to like break through his homophobic family, like try to get past that in his own mindset, you know, and think like it's okay. Oh my god, this book was just so cute, and it's so underrated. It's so fucking good. It's so good. Alright, and the last one is Illegal Contact by Santino Hassell, and this book follows Noah and Garrett. Garrett is on house arrest, and he's in the NFL, like he's a football player, but he's on house arrest because he got in this fight. Garrett is a closeted bisexual because of his career in the NFL, and Noah is openly gay. Garrett hires Noah as a personal assistant to like get groceries for him and take care of his car and just do all this kind of stuff while he's going to be under house arrest, because he's going to be on house arrest for the next 6 months, and so he needs somebody to like manage his life. They are both like hot-headed and kind of like arrogant, but Noah is so like sensitive and thoughtful at the end of the day. Chemistry between them is just so amazing, and it's definitely a slow build romance. Like, it takes fucking forever before they even like begin to even look at each other in that way, but holy fuck, once they finally do, it's like, it's so cute. But yeah, it's one of those romances that take a while to get it going, but once it gets going, it's like the fucking cutest shit, and it's so worth it. So also wanted to mention that I am currently reading a new adult romance book that I really like so far, but I obviously can't recommend it yet because I don't know how the end is gonna be. But that book is Dear Bridget, I Want You by Penelope Ward and Vi Keeland. So Vi Keeland is one of my favorite authors, so I'm most likely going to love this book, but I'm only 100 pages in at this exact moment, and so I can't fully recommend it and say it's amazing, but I personally am loving it so far. This book follows these two doctors. He's a doctor and she's a nurse, and he ends up moving into her apartment because she needs a roommate, and she has a son from like her husband died and they share a son together, and so he's British too, which, you know, it's cool. It's really cute so far, but I'm only 100 pages in, so we'll see. Those are all of the recommendations that I have for you today. I want to know, like, what's your favorite new adult romance book of all time? Or out of all of these books that I just mentioned, have you read any of them? What are your favorites out of these? Or do you dislike any of these books that I just mentioned? You can talk about it in the comments, let me know. Thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys next time. Get out, ho. Okay. Sorry, disclaimer, my pug just entered the room and now she might be loud. This is a new adult romance. Bleh. I'm sorry if the lighting is fucking terrible, oh my god. The next one is Misbehaved. Cannot speak. I don't need to tell you it's a new adult romance because that's what this whole video is, so obviously it is. And Remy is an 18, I think she's 18, I want to say, or 17 maybe, I don't know. Don't let this cover put you off either with the shirtless guy thinking, oh, it's just gonna be like, Like, none of these covers are, like, same with this one. I know the covers can be a little misleading and make you think it's just like an erotic book, but like, oh my god, they're not, they're so good.